live on the east side, downtown San Antonio. I'm excited tonight because I got my good friend, B. Michele, in the house tonight. B. Michele, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm tired, but I'm good.
You're tired, but you in here. You're doing it. You making it.
Man, late nights, early mornings. That's what they say.
Hey, there ain't nothing wrong with that.
Late nights, early mornings. That's my life.
Okay, so we're gonna talk a little bit about everything here. I like to tell folks that I'm a jack of all trades, master of some.
I like that.
And if there's anybody else that I would say is that title, I would also say is you.
Oh, well, thank you.
Right? Because you do a little bit of it all.
Here's the thing. I know that's like, here it come. I will say this. It's like Walmart. Walmart is Walmart, but they sell a lot of things. Yeah. Okay. So you can get groceries there. It's a one-stop shop. And that's all it really is, but it's a one-stop shop in one area. So we don't go outside of brand development anymore. Now, probably if you met me like 4 or 5 years ago, I probably was doing some of everything. We just from a multiple streams of income type of thing. When I was like, then I cut out all that stuff and strictly focused on brand development. So we do a lot of things as a branding agency. So we are a full service branding agency. So we are expected to do a number of things like event planning. But everything that we do, it coincides with brand development. So that's where it always comes back to. That's where I plant my flag at. And that's it. So you'll rarely see me promoting anything that has nothing to do with brand development.
Okay. So we're going to get into fully, because I want to know, what is brand development? Why do I need a brand coach? What do your services offer to the world? And I want to talk, because we got a lot of stuff we want to cover tonight. First of all, if you're watching this, wherever you're at, give us a shout out to your city, your hood. Get in the comment section, like, comment, share. Give us a shout out. Let us know how you're feeling tonight. I hope you're feeling fabulous wherever you may be in your part of the globe, your corner, your neck of the woods. I hope you and your families are thriving, because, man, we got a lot of problems going on out there.
Oh, it's a lot of shenanigans out in these streets.
And we're going to talk. I want to hear a lot from you. I want to talk about entrepreneurship. I want to talk about brand coach. I want to talk about Chicago. I want to talk about Zeta Phi Beta. I want to talk about you spent some time in Dubai, I know. I want to talk about the state of the Black and brown communities. I want to talk about San Antonio. I want to talk about a lot of things.
Let's go. Let's go.
Time. So tell us, for those folks that don't know, who is B. Michele in her words?
SheTheBomb.com.
Ooh, I like that.
Google me. Okay, real talk. At the end of the day, I'm just an entrepreneur out here just trying to help people and build legacies and build wealth and build good brands. At the end of it all, that's who I am. So I'm a connector. I'm a networker. I'm a small business champion. Like, entrepreneurship is my life now. I was a teacher for 17 years prior to this.
Wow. What'd you teach?
Elementary, and a little bit of middle school. So I dipped in education in 98 as a substitute teacher in Fort Hood. That was my first. So I take that back. So let me take that back. When I went to Mizzou, I actually went to Mizzou as an elementary education major.
Okay.
Then I switched to social work, but I still always wanted to work in education. So after I got a bachelor's and a master's in social work, I turned around and after I got a bachelor's in social work, then I got my teaching certification. Then I got a master's in social work after that. Wow. So I figured they all go together, and they really did. At the end of the day, I was more social worker than teacher half the time, because I mostly taught in the inner city. And even when I was in the suburbs, I was still social worker, teacher. But, it's a lot of stuff happening in the hood.
Yeah.
That as a teacher that you should deal with if you any kind of teacher. If you about the kids, you don't just leave your kids out there. Like, I had kids who house burned down in the middle school year. Yeah. So I always tried to make sure I helped. I had parents who didn't have jobs. I would let them come in my classroom and use the computer so they could find a job. Yeah. So I've always been a helper. I've always been about people. So this whole transition into entrepreneurship and brand development is just normal. It's what I do. So I went from teaching little people to teaching big people. At the end of the day, that's how I kind of look at it. But the overall scheme of things is really just helping people, helping entrepreneurs, helping people that want to start a business or want to get into entrepreneurship, do it the right way. So that way they can, when they have challenges, at least, because the challenges are coming. The shenanigans is coming. It's all coming.
Yeah.
But at least your business is solid. Like, you got your paperwork together. I mean, honestly, we just go back to the pandemic. Let's just take it there if we really want to go there. A lot of people couldn't really even take advantage of the PPP money. They probably really needed it because they didn't have their business set up properly.
Yeah.
Like, of course, nobody saw the pandemic coming. But at the end of the day, hopefully, of the people who couldn't take advantage of the resources that were available, I hope now they probably got their business structure together. So that's part of your brand. A lot of people don't look at it like that, but having your business structure together is part of your brand. That's where your brand starts at. The investment into it, getting that LLC, making sure you have your structure set up, make sure you have a business checking account. You will be amazed how many people out here still function without a business checking account. Like, it's a lot of shenanigans going on in the entrepreneurial world. But at the end of the day, in order for you to get grants, in order for you to do government contracting, in order for you to do anything that could really help you scale and grow your business, the foundation of it needs to be together. So the foundation of the actual business elements, but also the foundation of your brand, like really understanding who you're here for.
Okay.
So at the core of everything, business is about solutions. You should be in business to provide solutions to people. Period.
True.
Your first business, so here's my thing that I always say. Your first business should be aligned with your purpose and your passion.
There you
go. That first one. Because that's going to propel you into being able to do other things and grow to sister brands, brother brands, whatever we want to call them.
Yeah.
And get, you can do the 7 streams and multiple streams of income. But that first one, it needs to be something that's really, that you're connected with. You can then, after that, you can get into fields that you ain't got no business in, or you just, doing, you got money to invest in, you just want to invest in and make a little bit of money, whatever. But that first one needs to be something that you have a personal tie to, that you either built from the ground up, or even if you bought a franchise, however, but it needs to be something that's personal to you, because you're going to operate it different when it's personal to you. So at the end of the day, I always tell people, like, go back and really understand why you're in business. Are you in business just because it looks like it's a cool thing to do on social media? But I always say also, being a full-time entrepreneur is not for everybody, but everybody should have a side hustle.
That's true.
So, and there's a difference between having a side business and full-time entrepreneurship. There's a whole complete total difference, and it's more of a difference in the mindset and how you function every day. If you do have a side business or a home-based business that you're trying to grow, there's nothing wrong with trying to grow it to be able to make it your main thing. But at the core of entrepreneurship, it should be tied. It should be a personal connection and why you in that space, and it's tied to your purpose and your passion.
Yeah. So I like those words. I resonate with those words. I use those words often: purpose and passion.
Yeah.
And so, tell me, we're gonna jump around here on the timeline, cool. Right? So we got into it, right? We talked about wealth. You talked about creating generational wealth. I probably, like you, grew up not thinking about owning a business, right? Whatever that may look like. You didn't really know about that when we was growing up, right? You and I are in that same age bracket, so to speak, that same generation.
So what's funny is I was a kid. I was a kid like everybody else, but I actually come from a family of entrepreneurs, but I didn't necessarily know what that was.
Exactly.
In a sense. Like, I knew that they did stuff, but I didn't necessarily know there was a word for it until later, because, like, all of my mother's siblings all own businesses and have for most of my life. But I never had a term for it until I got older. But you're right, and when you're like, I guess it's a family business and you working in it, then you have a concept of it. So I wasn't working in none of the businesses, but I knew that they existed. But now as a family, we do have a business together. But yeah, it's like, but you're right. You don't, in our space and where we probably, growing up, it was just go to work.
Yeah, go to work. You work for someone, and there's nothing wrong with that either. Right. If you got a job, you doing well, hey, great for you. Right. But it takes some gall, some audacity to start up your own business. Some people are afraid. Some people don't have the experience. Right? I mean, let's think about this. I mean, what are the 5 things, or just some things off the top of your head, that you got to have in line in order to start a business?
Your mind.
Get your mind right, which a lot of people don't have.
Right. Like, that's literally, outside of the money, outside of everything else, your mind. Like, all of this is about mindset. Like, if you don't believe in you, how you expect other people to believe in you and invest in you. Like, if you don't believe that you're good at this or that you can succeed at it. So, number one, you got to get your mind right. Number two, I'm going to put this close to the top. You got to get your support system together. So before you even really jump out so I'm going to say these are things that you should do prior to starting the business.
Okay, tell us.
But at the end of the day, if you hadn't already started, you can always backtrack. Get your support system together. Like, when I say your support system, I mean like either your immediate family or whatever that looks like. Get your kids on board, get your spouse on board, your boyfriend, baby mama, baby daddy, whatever. They need to be on board, because once you really get into this and you get into it, number one, the worst thing that can happen is for you to want to do something and you don't have any support from, and I didn't say, and that support doesn't mean them buying from you or doing it. Support means that literally, hey, you can do it. We got you. Hey, we sharing, we telling people, whatever. But encouraging, that's support. So because the worst thing you can do, especially as somebody that's either married or in a relationship, is want to start a business, but your spouse or your significant other is not on board. That shit is over. Oof. Sorry, can I cuss?
I think you can. We live, so we good.
I don't know. My bad. But I mean, it's video.
It's good. Yeah, okay. This is unfiltered. This is raw. If you're offended, folks, don't share this.
Yeah, don't share it.
If you want to support our business, share this.
Look, right, because I might cuss again.
Come on now.
But no, like, real talk though. So you'll be able to tell my level of passion through the elevation.
Bring it. And shout out to all the baby daddies out there too, by the way.
I know, right? Shout out to all the baby daddies out there that's trying to do but we're gonna get into that. So let's get into it. Let's pin that. Let's pin that for a topic.
There's so many. I need a checklist.
I know,
Can
like,
we get a running tally?
Let's pin that for a topic, because we gotta talk about that for a little bit. But I think from a support system, like, real talk though, like, if you are in a relationship, it's important that your significant other is on board. Because it's not going to work if they're not. Because now that's like a major hurdle before you even get started with the business. Then if you started and they not on board, then you got to hear all the extra if it don't work. And I just feel like, and here's my take on it as a non-married person. So I know I don't normally speak on people's marriages from being somebody who's not married. But I'm going to speak on people's marriages real quick. I think as a married person, either side, that you owe your spouse the opportunity to try their business.
Yeah.
If they want to try it and they got a foolproof plan, I'm not saying go quit your job. I'm not saying support your spouse and quitting their job on day one. That's stupid. That's foolish. I'm saying if they really have thought this out, got a foolproof plan, or whatever they want to do to get started, and as their spouse and you don't support them, you're wrong. Like, at least let them try and get the business off the ground. If it failed, so what? It didn't work. Now, if they want to try it again, maybe they learn some things along the way to try it again. However, but to talk down or to not support your spouse for wanting to make y'all life better, I just don't understand that type of shenanigans.
I don't need that's some other issues.
Yeah, like that is like the craziest thing ever to me for somebody that has a vision. But one thing I told somebody, I was like, there's no way. I feel like right now, the way entrepreneurship is right now, it's like if you're dating somebody, like, you now got to add that to the topics that y'all talk about. Like, once you find out, make sure they ain't crazy or whatever, you got to add entrepreneurship. Once you figure out their family background, you got to have that conversation if you feel it like that's in your spirit. Yeah. Because so that way the person is not feel like they got tricked or bamboozled down the line when you get ready to start this business.
Yeah. So let's if you're watching this show right now, go ahead and drop in the comment section what you need to ask your potential partner before you start getting serious.
Right. Do you want to start a business? Do you have aspirations?
Will you support my business?
Well, that too. So ask, will you support the business? But also then you should ask the other person, do they have aspirations of starting the business?
Will you be the CFO of my business?
Yeah. Well, we won't go there now. Let's not go that far. We got to wait till we get that rain. But need to support though.
Yeah, let's co-sign on the business right now. Let's co-own the business.
No. We're not co-signing on nothing to marriage. Or unless we're doing a life partner thing on paper.
Will you buy me a car? I need a vehicle.
I know, right? We co-sign on cars. But I know that is Look, not the business though. Not the business though. The car is okay because you can always opt out of that.
That's funny.
If I piece you out, I do not want you part of my business. Like, no. Like,
you can keep the car, babe.
Only if we get married. That's it. Okay. But I think that's like
there's a lot of good conversations that have been started, have continued to start around wealth, creating generational wealth, right? What are we passing on to our children? What's the next generation looking to? And I think now, they always say this, but I think it's true. There are more opportunities now. The doors are more open now, right? For us to get out there, to put ourselves out there, right? I mean, you think about social media, Guylan and I have been talking about TikTok. I don't have a TikTok yet, but I'm probably going to get one. Do you have a TikTok?
I do. I finally broke down and got one.
When did you get one?
Maybe like 3 months ago. Okay. 2 months ago, 3 months ago.
I'm still late to the TikTok game.
I got a few little videos. I got a few videos on there. They doing all right.
Okay. So let's talk about what got you into entrepreneurship. Because you was social work, education, right? You went to school. You didn't go to school for business, right?
No, I did not.
What got you into this? What called you into this?
So I'm gonna tell you the whole story. I'm gonna tell you the truth.
Give me the 2 to 3 minute version of it, if you got it.
So what had happened was, while I was in Abu Dhabi.
What took you to Abu Dhabi? How'd you get out there?
So when I was in Atlanta during the 2008 housing crisis, the school I was at, they was doing cuts. So it was a last in, first out situation. So I was like in the last pool of people that was hired. So one of my parents, his brother actually worked IT in Dubai, and he was like, you should consider going to work in Abu Dhabi. I was like, huh? Well, like, where that's at? So I Googled it when I went back in my classroom, and I saw that beach. I was like, oh, okay. And so I was like, I started doing some more research, and I ran across a recruiting company that recruited teachers. So I was like, I don't know about this. Let me go pack my stuff up and go into the house. So I looked again, and I actually applied for jobs in other cities too. So I was in Atlanta at the time, so I applied for jobs like in Tennessee and North Carolina. I knew I could always come back to Texas. I knew I could always come back to Houston. So I wanted, before I just said, okay, I'm going back, let me just try something else while I got time. So then I was like, I went ahead and finally said, okay, I looked at it again. I went ahead and applied to, it's called Teach Away. So I put the whole application in. I'm like, well, I'm not about to go no Middle East. So I'm on the couch one day. My sorority sister called me and was like, hey, I saw this job in Abu Dhabi. I think I want to apply for it. And I just dropped the phone and started laughing.
Yeah, what are the odds?
I know, right? Literally. And so I was like, yeah. So I applied. I told her I applied. She was like, how you going to apply without me? So I called a recruiter up, and I was like, hey, my sister want to come too. Now, mind you, I just did the application and didn't do nothing with it. So it's still been in limbo. But I went and found the email from the person I was corresponding with. So long story short, we both had an interview. We drove to Orlando at 4 a.m.
Wow.
For the interview. Both got hired there. So on the way back from Orlando, we was like, so who gonna call who mama first? And be like, we moving to the Middle East. So she called her mama first. I said, I don't want to call mine because I already knew what was gonna happen. She started crying. I'm like, goodbye. I'll call you later. But so we ended up going over there. But while I was there, my second year, so out in the club, kicking it. So it was me, my homegirl Ebony, and my homeboy Maurice. Maurice is a big guy. Like he bouncer, swole, football, big dude. So we all just standing there, and a guy, I don't know what possessed him to do this. He tried to slide behind us, like literally behind us. But when he slid behind us, he bumped into Maurice or whatever. And that's when I know a fight ensued, right? And I told you how big he is. So somewhere in the midst of the fight, when he went to hit, old boy hit him, and when he went to hit him back, I got hit in the eye.
What?
Yeah. So now I'm hella pissed. I'm like, my eye black. So I was so mad. I called, look, and the police do not come to the club there, okay? So they'll come in, but they will not go in. Yeah. So I was like, bump this. So we got put out. Like, how do black people get put out?
Well, so let's stop right there. So what were like the racial demographics at this club that evening?
It was black.
I don't even know.
It was black. It was Arab, Asian. It was a little bit of everything. Like, okay. It's a whole melting pot. So I'm like, How we get kicked out?
So only the black folks got put out.
Me, Ebony, and Maurice got put out. But like he started the fight, but because he a regular, I think so. If I remember, so basically because he was a regular, spending up all type of money or whatever, I was like, you know what? So I called the police. I don't know what made me call the police, but I was just so mad. But then when they came or whatever, they, you know what? Bump this. So I went back to the apartment, put up this long post. I woke up the next morning. I said, you know what? I'm about to start doing my own parties. Bump that. We ain't about to get kicked out.
Okay.
So I called up my homegirl, Cora. And one of my other friends, I was like, look, we about to start doing parties. But I was friends with a promoter already that was stationed in the Air Force. So I was like, hey, Jay, I want to start doing parties. He was like, word? I was like, yeah. So you going to help me out? So we had the meeting, whatever, came up with a name. It was called Black Eye Events.
Ooh.
So
Black Eye Events?
Yeah. So my black eye is how.
That inspired your whole story here.
That's how it happened. My black eye, that night in the club, and I didn't even get to hit nobody. So we started our first event was we dubbed it the Mansion Party. So we had it out at a villa in Al Lane. So Al Lane is like a suburb. Let's say Bernie. So like from here to Bernie, give or take. So we had one of Jamar's guys, he was a contractor there, so we had a big old villa, pool, the whole nine. So we dubbed that thing the Mansion. So we bust people from Abu Dhabi to Al Ain for this party. We had like about 100+ people at this party. We did the first party for free. It cost us maybe 1,200 dirham, which is about maybe $300.
Wow.
We had food, all you could drink, all you could eat, all night.
And so it was a good party.
It was fire. So then we're like, okay, we can do this. I'm like, I can do this. So
and
we
y'all
started,
made money and y'all learned.
Yeah. So the first one was free. Then after that, we like really started doing it. So it came to the point to where we even had a contract with the Sheraton. So we would do parties at the Sheraton. We did yacht parties, concerts. We bought a whole band from the Philippines. Did a couple reggae artists. We did a lot. So that's how the whole. So I always liked event planning, to be honest. So
yeah.
I dabbled in it during teaching, but like when you teaching, it'd be a lot. Like I'm officially now old school teaching where we work. So it was a lot. So I really had time to really give it a lot of energy, like planning events for people. But I just did a few little things. But I was always like, at our schools, I was always in charge of like the birthdays.
Yeah.
And did all the like the stuff at schools for the staff or whatever. So that was I guess I kind of still did event planning.
Organized.
Yeah, so I always organized like all the birthday functions, the teacher little committees and stuff we had. Even in Abu Dhabi, I did the same thing. Even before we started Black Eye Events or whatever. But so that kind of propelled it. So when I decided to leave, I was like, you know what? I'm done with these children. I'm about to take a break and do something I want to do. So I launched Be Michele Events while I was in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah. And when you're telling me these were successful, I really believe you because I've seen some of your parties. You know, here as well. Listen, I was involved in one of your events, a comedy show here in San Antonio a few years ago. And I could just tell the way that you organized it and ran it. It was like this was not your first rodeo at all.
That show was fire, though.
That show was That
show was fire.
So let me go back. Let's set the backdrop as well. 30 seconds or less. Tell everyone how we met because we were trying to figure this out before the show, which led us. Because if you remember, that event was at Pix, which is at the same location as the Burn House.
Right.
Is that Burn House still there?
Yeah, it is. So we met at Burn House. Somebody was doing an event.
It was like a mixer. It was like a cigar mixer.
And so we were just chopping it up, and then I guess we kind of connected on the whole Greek tip.
Correct.
And that's kind of where it started from. So so we kind of connected on the whole Greek thing, and then I think we met up. We met up like I think we did like a lunch meeting or something.
Yeah.
And then you hosted, and that was the launch of my Laugh It Up series. So that was the first show.
So there it is. The Laugh It Up comedy show series, folks.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen, can folks go back and see this? Do you have any video recaps?
Yeah, so the videos are on the Laugh It Up Facebook page. So there's some stuff on the Facebook page. And we might be bringing it back.
You got to bring it back.
We might be
I think San
it back.
Antonio needs that.
Like, Okay, so I'm one of them type of people, like when everybody start doing stuff, I'm like, I took a break because it was like stuff was just popping up. And I was like, you know what, let me take a break. Cause I don't like to do stuff that everybody doing. And that it gets, I know, right? It gets all mixed in and you don't know one show from another. So at one point from 2017 or 2018 to 2019, 2017, 20, it was like comedy shows galore. Like just people doing shows or whatever, and people coming from out of town doing shows. Yeah. So my last show was actually Halloween, 2018 Halloween. I did it at Jamaica. That was my last comedy show, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, so I haven't done one in 4 years.
And did that one come out good too?
Yeah, like that was my last little fire. That was my last fire show. Well, I haven't done one as Laugh It Up. I did do the census show. I did a show to help bring awareness to the census, but that was like under my foundation. But we haven't done a Laugh It Up show since Jamaica. But it was funny though. It was good. Like I try to really bring funny people. Like
yeah, you do.
So here's the thing. I tell people all the time, just because you don't know them, don't mean the show not funny.
Absolutely.
Like so, I always try to do shows with up and coming comics, and some of them actually do have like a pretty good fan base.
Yeah.
Here, but like you guaranteed. I'm not gonna lie. From 2014, so when I first got into the comedy, my first show was a Christian comedy show at Resurrection. I did Marcus Wiley. He was a headliner. My homeboy T. Bryant, and then remember from Bebe Kids?
Yeah.
The daddy.
Yeah. What's his name? I can't think of his name.
I know, right? My black card about to get revoked. But the daddy from
yeah, he was funny.
Not Bebe Kids. The daddy from House Party. Not Bebe Kids. Oh. He was really, you know what I'm talking about. I can't think of his name. Well, his nephew, Sean. His nephew's name is Sean.
Okay.
So Sean, because Sean had hooked me up with Marcus Wiley out of Houston. So my first show was with them at Resurrection. It was packed. It was like close to 700 people there. And this is when I first moved to San Antonio. Like I'd only been here like 3 months. Like I literally got off the plane on my birthday, July 3rd, 2013. And we did that show in November of 2013. Like really, I was like, wow. So that was my first show. So then 2014 is when I did the We Got Next comedy series. So Q out of Dallas, that's his series. So we would do it. I did We Got Next from 2014 to 2016, and then that's when I launched the Laugh It Up series in 2016, and that ran from 2016 to 2018. So yeah, so Laugh It Up is my baby. But We Got Next, like that, the We Got Next series helped me. Like I really learned a lot about comedy, about comics, about just the industry.
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah, you had when the night that you had the show and I was there, I was like, man, these guys are legit. These guys are legit. I mean, they were like, they was in there, they was performing. I could see, you could just feel it. And it was a great show. You're right. So if you've been to one of B. Michelle's events, if you want to see her bring it back to San Antonio, tag some of the names of the artists, of the comedians that need to be at the show. We want to know, we want to meet them. We need the hookup. We need the referrals because people need to laugh some more.
Right.
I think, too.
They do.
People need to loosen up the tie, let their hair down these days.
I mean, that's why I love comedy. I'm not going to lie. The other reason why I love comedy, because the comedies, they are nothing like music artists. Like, oh, Lord. Yeah. They are so much easier to work with. You don't have to worry about no backline. They just like a hotel room. Yeah. You pay them and get them a room and they straight. Now, the A-list and B-list comics, a little bit more kind of go into it or whatever. But in general, like comics they don't be doing the most for the most part. Like they really
do more than them. Guy calls me a diva.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, don't be a diva, man.
Well, it's probably true sometimes, but that's that perfectionism. Because as you know, being a coach, being an entrepreneur, you gotta have things right.
You do. But here, so as we talk about having things right, I will say this. I think a lot of what we don't realize as consumers, and because I'm not going to say it's not for us to realize, but we're in a consumer mindset, so we want what we want. But as a consumer, I think sometimes we also have to realize that the learning curve in entrepreneurship, is steep. And so a lot of entrepreneurs are first generation entrepreneurs. So they didn't really have anybody to pass the torch down to tell them, all these things. So I feel like we have to give entrepreneurs and small business owners some grace.
Absolutely.
Like, so it's not gonna be perfect all the time. Some stuff gonna get messed up, and it's okay. Like I mess up stuff every day, but what I do is I own it.
Yeah.
And I try to fix it. And like right now, after I finish this podcast, I gotta call my client and tell him he about to only get half of his order. And that's only because we're out of stock. Like I'm really, from a perfection standpoint, like I've looked and I've tried like all my vendors and I could not find these freaking shirts. So I'm about to call him when this podcast over.
Yeah.
Because I know he's gonna be upset.
Tell him right now. You might as well tell him right now if he's watching.
I know he might be watching, but you only getting half of this order. But I'm saying from a standpoint, like when you really, if you mess up something, I think sometimes we go so quick to, especially for small business owners, we want to cancel them. You're not canceling those small business owners, like unless they didn't done something ridiculous, racial or whatever. But like, I think it's crazy when we go. I'm not saying not to leave a review, or if you leave a bad review or whatever, but it's one thing just to leave a bad review and you let it go versus you bash and then you get people then you start getting people on the bandwagon about the business.
Yeah.
And when it steamrolls, I've seen so many businesses where the post just steamrolled.
Yeah, we don't need that.
Right.
I mean,
because
I don't know. I mean, maybe there are some cases where, people got a vendetta, but I mean, come on.
Right. Now. Like you had a bad experience. Let your experience be your experience. Like, and all the other people that jump on the bandwagon, you should have said something when it happened to you. Like, don't jump on the bandwagon and tear this business down, because it's hard building businesses, like especially for Black and brown people at the end of the day. Now, as a business owner, it is our total 100% responsibility to be open to constructive criticism, to welcome our haters, and to want to be better.
There's a lot
like
of those
at the
things
end of the day, like those are our responsibilities to alleviate the number of complaints that will happen. But when you're in your first 1 to 3 years, man, you're gonna fuck up some stuff.
Yeah.
And it is what it is. But it's all about how you go back to fix it.
Yeah.
So when you apologize, when you actually sincerely, admit whatever mistake you made, or if y'all got the order wrong or whatever, I think people will give you grace, and it won't be as bad when you actually genuinely show some level of remorse for what happened in the situation. That's just my belief. And maybe I believe that because when I do mess up and I go to my clients and say, hey, X, Y, and Z, like they give me grace at the end of the day, because they don't have to,
Yeah, but I think you're doing good business overall.
Yeah, overall, I'm not messing up stuff every day.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying I messed up my fair share along the way to this 8-year mark or 9-year mark, whichever. I'm losing track of time. But I messed up my fair share of stuff. But I also always tried to be, truthful and honest. And I think that's what makes the difference. But this space is hard to navigate. So I just want to say, sometimes I think as a consumer, we got to give a little bit more grace when it presents itself at times.
So we're going to jump around on a few different topics. Now, I know you're from Chicago. Shout out to everybody from Chicago watching this. We got a few people from the Midwest supporting the podcast. And we talk about supporting your people, maybe not supporting your people, or recognizing when we got to let go. I got to ask, are you following this Kanye thing?
Okay, so I am to a certain extent. Kanye might want to sit down somewhere before a judge find him unfit to be a parent, because if that happens, he done.
Yeah. Like,
if Kim really go the distance with it, which I guess she could, I mean, they can go back and look at all the stuff he done. If he get found to be unfit, he ain't never gonna see his kids again. Yeah. So like, I don't think people thinking about that back end, and that's the back end. Like, if he mess around and end up going to court, and a judge find him unfit, he's screwed.
Yeah, I got to ask about that, because a lot of us have an affinity in our hearts and our minds for Kanye, right? Kanye was a guy who did some things and won us over. But we also got to talk about mental health. We also got to talk about, I'm a big believer in supporting our brothers.
Right, as we should.
When they mess up, when they do well.
Yep.
One of the things I saw at the Super Bowl is I saw Odell Beckham Jr., I saw Aaron Donald both crying after the game.
I know, right? Wasn't that amazing?
And it's like, That's the power of sport. That's the power of men letting it all out, putting their heart, their body, their mind on the line. And a lot of people are dogging the NFL, which again, the NFL deserves some criticism.
Of course it does.
Absolutely. We were talking about this before we turn the mics on or turn the cameras on. But we've got to support these guys being vulnerable. We've got to talk to our brothers more.
I agree. I agree. It's funny. One of my favorite clients, which all of my clients are my favorite clients, but one of my favorite clients is a therapist. His business called Chosen for Hope Counseling, and he's a black man, and I think that's really just to even be in the space as a therapist is important, because for minority black and brown people, we tend, number one, is going, from a man perspective, it's going to be hard to go to a therapist in general. So you're probably going to want to go to somebody that remotely probably looks like you. Yeah. So it's important that we actually have people in that space, number one, working in that space, to make it, I think, more comfortable for minority men and women go to therapy. Yeah. So I think that's important. But I do feel like we have definitely come a lot farther. That's true than we were, especially when it comes to going to therapy. Like, I first started seeing a therapist 2000, I read it from UH in 05, 2004 or 2003. It was 2004 when I was teaching kindergarten at the time over in North Forest ISD in Houston. So that was my first time actually started seeing a therapist, because it was wild. It was wild. We ain't had nothing. And a crazy principal on top of that. So I think, but for women, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, I can see that.
For the most part, if we go. But I think now in 2022, it feels like it's almost like just amazing to hear men in general, but definitely black and brown men, say, I'm going to see my therapist, or I got a therapist. I've had male clients, some of my male clients ask me to refer them to a therapist, and they go faithfully. Yeah. And it's like, and I'm just like, I just kind of smile inside, because I think that it's like, you're reaching a whole new level of adulting.
That's a good point.
Like, when you, especially as a man, that's a whole nother level of adulting, recognizing that you got these concerns, you got these issues that you can't pray them away. And that's what I put up a post maybe a couple months ago. But it was about therapy, because it was Mental Health Awareness Month. And I was like, you're not going to be able to pray everything away. You're going to have to go dial that number, make that appointment. Yeah. Because some things you need to just let out. You need to be able to talk to somebody that's in a no judgment zone, and be vulnerable to move on past whatever this may be that's holding you from being your best self. Yeah. So I love the fact that, more and more definitely minority men are just coming out, speaking out about it. And it's just like, going to a regular doctor now. Absolutely.
So shout out to all the mental health practitioners out there, those that have normalized the conversation around men and men of color seeing, counselors, seeing people to talk to. I liken it to this. There ain't nothing wrong for men to go to a gym to better their physical health. Exactly. So there should be nothing wrong with a man going to a mental health practitioner to better their mental health. But you know what? Spiritual health. I mean, all of that.
And you're right. And I will say, I think a lot of stuff is embedded in our family structure. I'm not sure from the Latino side, but it may be the same. Oh, yeah. But a lot of stuff is that your grandparents say crazy stuff to you, like take a nap. Like, walk it off, whatever, or pray about it. Whatever our grandparents was telling us, or telling our parents about how you don't need to go see a therapist, or going to therapy is weak, and all of, like, some of that stuff was just embedded. And I'm glad to see that now from the next generation we're starting to undo a lot of the stuff that our grandparents was telling our parents, that we probably was in the room and we heard them say, and then our parents telling it to us. For the most part, I think, honestly, I feel like with our generation, like we've kind of broken some of those stigmas and curses when it comes to therapy for the most part. but I mean, it definitely takes time, but I will say like a lot of it is just embedded in our culture.
Yeah, it is. We got to continue to chip away at it. You know, I liken it to like this, like with crying, right? Because we talked about the 2 football players crying. I mean, crying for men, for the most part, like you talked about, generationally, our grandparents would have told us that it was a sign of weakness.
Right.
But crying is a natural emotion.
It is.
Just as you would if you laughed at something.
Exactly.
Extreme happiness, extreme sadness. Now, sometimes you cry because you laughing so hard.
Exactly.
You know, this is a natural emotion. It's a natural reaction to something, and we should embrace that.
You're right, because think about how much time and effort and energy it takes to suppress it.
That too.
Like, I don't even know, like, it takes way more energy for me not to cry and to hold all this anger in than to let it out. Because when you hit your tipping point or somebody flip that switch and you nut up, then it's like, then he psycho or he crazy. That don't make him, just because you had a trigger moment don't make you crazy. Yeah. Like, unfortunately, you just haven't dealt with whatever the issues were, and you have bottled them up over years and years and years. So when you do blow up and maybe, you know, whatever happens, that automatically make you having a mental health problem per se. Yeah. It's just that you let this thing fester for so long without addressing it. I mean, it's just like a wound or something. If you don't go get it treated and everything, it gets infected, and now you got a whole problem. Absolutely. So I think from that perspective, that the whole Kanye thing and people, I don't know, because I feel like between him and Kanye and Antonio Brown, people go automatically to,
whom were both at the Super Bowl together, right, by the way.
Automatically go to mental health. But I watched Antonio Brown's interview on I Am Athlete. I don't honestly feel like anything wrong with him. I don't, because here's the thing about it. Okay, let's just, for people, it's like, okay, it's like money. So now it was another post that I put up. Money is only an issue, or people only feel some type of way about money when they've never had any. But people who have had money before, it's not like, you can't impress people. No, my post was, you can't impress people with money if they've, only people who have never had money are impressed by money. That was the post, which is true. So you can only impress people by stuff that they've never had. Antonio Brown is not missing anything out of his life. He got plenty of money. He got plenty of business deals. He didn't probably made on the back end. He living his best life. So at the end of the day, he feel like he in a position, but you also, it's a nature versus nurture thing. Think about it. Like, if you raised in a particular environment, sometimes your environment also takes over which is the nature, also takes over the nurture part. So the hood raised me. Yeah. Like, that's a real saying. So unfortunately, you got raised by the same environment that you live in a sense. So there was no outside source to combat any of the stuff that was happening outside. That's what sucks at that point. So when you raise in an environment where you just do what you want to do, and you don't want to be controlled, and that's nothing. Like, at the end of the day, he don't need the money. He got plenty of it. Like he said on the podcast, his kids is good. This was an issue that the whole time, you know, whatever him and Bruce Arians and Brady was going through or whatever, it was some stuff that was already happening. So when you talk to a black man, some things trigger you. Yeah. When you tell somebody certain things, he might have got triggered, and you being triggered by something don't, again, make you mental. It's a trigger. We all have them. We don't know them until it actually happens. So maybe whatever Bruce Arians said, he was like, bro, you're not about to talk to me like this. Yeah. And as a whole grown man, I ain't mad at him, in a sense. So he left and quit his job the way people wish they could.
Yeah, a lot of people don't wish they could do that.
Exactly. But he can quit his job like that because he already has things set in place.
So we need to have a course, like a semester community course on these cases of these black and brown men when incidents like this pop off. Because, the other thing is that the media just takes it.
Exactly. So they kept one talking about he mental. Ain't nothing wrong with Antonio Brown. Yeah. Like, honestly, he just in a position where he living his best life, get to do what he want to do. where most of us wish we could live in that space.
Yeah, I mean, so what that he walked off, right? There are bigger problems in this world than Antonio Brown, who's a football player walking off a field.
Because everybody wants to go, he's not a team player. Well, I mean, he was trying to do his job.
Yeah.
He was willing to, well, at one point he was willing to go out there and play on the ankle, and then he got to a point where, like, look, I'm hurt or whatever. But, I mean, you can't, I feel like sometimes you got to, your job, no matter what it is, cannot supersede you and your health and your wealth, and I want to say wealth, but it's like your health and your well-being. At the end of the day, like, if it ain't working, it ain't working. Move around.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said about this. If you've got questions, comments, get to them. We want to answer all of your questions tonight. I've got to ask you this: San Antonio does not have an NFL team, a pro team. What are your thoughts on San Antonio now that you're here? You've been here for what, 8 years, 10 years? You said
about 8.
What are your thoughts on San Antonio? Give us the raw, unfiltered truth here, too, by the way.
As if I would tell you anything different. I'm not going to lie. It took a while to grow on me because I've always lived in A markets. So A market is a market where it's like Dallas, Austin, Houston, so where the revenue is great. So I always lived in kind of A markets. So in the A market, people also function differently because it's a major city. But San Antonio being a 7th largest city, I feel like it could totally be an A market, but it's not an A market just because of the medium income of this city, and that's what kind of dictates that, you know, the greater market that a city is. But I will say it's a great place for somebody that's looking for a fresh start. It's a great place for if you have kids. I feel like this is a very kid-friendly city.
It is.
Like, it's very kid-friendly. It's a very kid-friendly city. I mean, they have a really nice children's museum. They got parks everywhere. It's lots of stuff to do here for kids. So I feel like it is a family. The school districts aren't horrible. I mean, they all could use some work, but they're not horrible. And you got plenty of options. So I do feel like, but from a single person, it sucks. From a single standpoint, it's trash. Wait
a minute. Why you say that?
It is trash.
How?
Okay, so it's
from a single person standpoint, it's trash.
It's trash because so I'm just gonna say, as a black woman, it's trash.
Oh, now we getting into the real. So if you're a black woman, don't move to San Antonio if you're looking for
don't move
a spouse.
Here. Yeah, don't move here. No, black men, feel free to come on. Black women, y'all stay where y'all at. It's to the point to where I really stopped going to certain places. I really stopped going out at night because, like, all the events would just be full of women. I'm like, I didn't get dressed up for this.
Wow.
Like, I did not get dressed up for this.
Where are all the good men?
So
they're hanging out on the west side.
I will say this: here's the thing. Also, if you desire to date a black man and that's the only ethnicity you want to date, then you got a problem. Now, if you open to the rainbow, then you probably good. But
San Antonio's not the most international city anyway.
It's not, but at the end of the day, I'm just saying that if you're a black woman and you only want to date a black man, you're going to have a problem.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
You're going to have to come get some brown sugar then.
Right. So you'll have to open up your dating spectrum to other cultures and other ethnicities if you don't want to be single forever. But then there's this whole thing of also, in a sense, I don't know why people say this, but I've had a couple people tell me that, like, I'm intimidating. And I'm like the least intimidating person you would ever meet. But I think it's because the whole business and it's all of that.
Maybe how you carry yourself.
Yeah, it's all of that. But I'm just like, I'm super normal.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, that's why we're having the show. We're breaking down some barriers. She's not scary, folks.
No, I'm super normal. But one thing I will do, I will definitely help you get your business started.
There you go. So let's get on that. You're an entrepreneur. You're thinking about starting a business. You come from a family of hustlers. Most of us just come, like you mentioned, our families have been hustlers. They've been selling cars. They've been, doing people's hair. They've been doing all this stuff. They've been helping you get your insurance, all these papers, all your paperwork right. How can you help someone start their business?
So actually we do the whole, so As I revert back to my social work education, we are PIE, person and environment. I take you where you are. So we take you from zero to hero if that's where you want to go. But all of our services, like honestly, it is based on, it's custom and it's based on what you want. Like if you really don't have your business set up, we will do your LLC application for you, help you get your DBA, your EIN number, walk you through like different banking options, we'll look at some different banks, figure out which one is for you. Like this is through our coaching, one of our coaching programs. So all of that happens in that space. But we will do all of that for you. So like if you super new and you don't really know where to start, then we start at the beginning with a business plan.
Okay.
To be honest. And then honestly from there, we then actually goes into like really helping you kind of get the business set up properly and established. Like we have a team. On our team we have 2 tax preparers and a CPA, as well as insurance agents as well, to make sure that you get it all together, because like insurance is part of setting your business up. Like I just don't think that any business owner should be out here without business insurance. Like for real, no matter what you do, because you just never know what could happen. Especially like here's my rule on the business insurance. But this is also why I tell people you need an LLC, and no matter at what stage you're in, even if you're thinking about starting it, get the LLC because it matures. So the thing about it, as it grows, like let's say you go to get a loan, they say, well, how long have you had the business? You can legally you can say whatever the date is. Maybe it was 5 years ago. You can say you had this LLC for 5 years because it matures. Even if you don't necessarily do anything with it, as long as you pay your franchise taxes. In the state of Texas, you don't get it revoked, and you pay your franchise taxes every year, which you don't really pay anything unless you make $1 million or more. But as long as your LLC is in good standing, like it's growing over this. I mean, it's maturing over this time. So I think that's a lot of people don't really realize that. But like if your business or your service or whatever you're doing requires you to go inside somebody's house, so if you're a contractor, a painter, any of those things, a plumber, if you augmentate somebody's body in any type of way, so that's from hairstyling to trainers to lash techs, all of that, like you should have business insurance, because if something happens, like
what could happen?
I just put up a post the other day, like 63% of small businesses end up in some sort of litigation.
Why is that?
That's a lot, because we live in a sue happy society.
Yeah. Because what happened? You messed up someone's hair.
Right. So okay, let's say color. Maybe, or let's say you don't know the person, like the person is maybe have a scalp irritation. Maybe something you use irritated their scalp and now their hair fall out.
Ooh, yeah.
That's a whole problem.
We're gonna sue somebody then.
Right.
We're gonna come at you.
If the person wants to, she could take you to court, because now all her hair done fell out, and maybe the chemicals really affected, other parts, of her body or whatever. That's a problem. I know somebody did eyelashes, and the stuff that they put on the eyelashes irritated her eye, to where her eye was swole for a while. Like, you talking about possibly losing your vision over some lashes.
And you're not going to find a man in San Antonio that way, right?
No, definitely not. Definitely not. So I'm just saying, like, at the end of the day, sometimes I think a lot of times we bank on people not necessarily going the distance. All it takes is for that one person to go the distance and get the lawyer, and then you got to get a lawyer.
Problems,
and now you got problems. And then if you don't have an LLC on top of that, you really got problems, because now all your personal assets are at risk. If that person wins, you screwed. So like, it could totally cripple your business if you don't have business insurance and you don't have an LLC. You out here playing games. But I'm just gonna tell you, like, for me, I just can't take you serious.
Yeah.
When you don't have none of this.
So the services that you're providing sound like a must for people that
all day, every day,
right? That maybe have a business or considering a business. Maybe you're at the point where your business is growing so fast that you don't know what to get straight.
I will say this. So from a brand development standpoint, because again, we strictly focus on brand development, and brand development is, at the end of the day, is really how your clients or how your community feels about you and your business. That's that's what it comes down to. But you have to build up that experience.
Yeah.
So whatever you want the experience to be when people come to you for products or services, you got to create this. Like I met with a young guy. He's like 22. He has a power washing company. And I told him, I said, you want to figure out what you want. What are your core values? Like really take a look at your personal core values. And those should also be part of your business core values. At the end of the day, on how you gonna run your business, what's important to you. So if being on time, if time is one of your core values and quality, then that means you gonna show up to every house you do 10 or 15 minutes early. Because time is part of your core values. Time is, you want people to say that you were timely. You want people to say that you gave quality service. You want people to say that you were very friendly. So you want to make sure that you're doing the things to evoke those responses and those emotions. So that's really what brand development really is, how you create that experience. Like our core values are fun, because entrepreneurship should be fun.
It should be fun.
Like you're about to embark on something that a lot of people will never do in their life. So it should be fun. Education is also one of our core values. I spend a lot of time educating my clients about their business and about just business elements and brand elements in general. So, I mean, I was an educator for 17 years, so it's only natural at the end of the day. So, like, these are things that are like, and then family, that's one of our other core values. So I like for our clients to consider themselves a part of the Be Michele family, because even when, like, people ask me for referrals and stuff, I just go into my client list and give them some numbers and I'm on my way. Because 9 times out of 10, I probably got a client that does that. So, but I also like to make sure that our clients meet each other and create that atmosphere. So that way they feel like they're a part of something. It's just not like I done paid you a lot of money and that's it. So I try to make sure that we stay, like I send out emails. I'll text out, certain things. I try to make sure that we at least have some sort of communication, whether it's social media, or text, or it's a phone call. And just create that environment so people know that, like, 2 of my clients got COVID, like really, really bad. So the whole time they had COVID, like, I called them throughout the whole time. Yeah. Because one of them, I felt like I don't think he was going to make it. Yeah. But I pretty much called and checked on both of them, throughout the whole time. Once I knew they was, out the woods, kind of let up a little bit. But, like, I think that's important. And that's the joy of small business, that you can be able to do that.
Yeah, Walmart ain't going to do that.
Right. Like, they not doing that. I mean, your manager might, maybe not. I don't know. So I think that personal touch, and when people really know that you care, that's where the difference is.
So with your brand, right, and you as a multifaceted person, someone that is dynamic, who are your biggest influences? Like, who has inspired you? Could you say, like, I model my game after these peeps?
So who I actually love the most is Master P.
Ooh, come on now.
Yeah. Like, I follow him on Instagram and I watch a lot of his videos as he talk about just the music industry and just talk about business in general. And this is why I try to post regularly about the whole life insurance thing, because he built his whole empire off a $10,000 life insurance policy.
Is that right?
That his grandfather left him.
Wow.
So when we was talking about the 9 with them tapes in the back of his car, when we was in high school and buying all this, like it was from a life insurance policy that his grandfather left him. And like now he then built a whole empire and like literally leaving generational wealth and just a legacy in general, just in the music industry and for the South. Yeah. Like, I feel like you can't talk about music in the South and not talk about Master P. Like, how you do that?
That's true. Maybe people that don't know music.
Right. So I feel like, the whole No Limit, like, No Limit is just as part of, I think, the Southern, like, music in the South, and just as much as Swisher House. Yeah. And Houston and in Atlanta. So, like, and it's funny because I look at, like, each of the states pretty much got they one little
Yeah.
They one little entity that set it off. So, Master P was it for Louisiana.
Yeah.
Florida had Luke. So the South really been doing this thing. Cause even I was in the Midwest in high school, but we got all of that. Yeah. And then you got a couple Midwest artists or whatever, but I feel like Master P, one of the things he said is that he feel like you should give out game and not necessarily look for nothing in return from it. Cause I said this. Even if you give them the game for free, they're not gonna do nothing with it. So telling somebody how you did something, or telling you somebody, or giving some free game, ain't gonna hurt you. Cause 9 times out of 10, if they're not gonna do nothing with it.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard for some folks to do something with it anyway.
Right. So when they pay for it, even if they do pay for it, they probably will, but it's suspect even if they pay for it.
Yeah.
So my thing is there's no need to harbor information. And one thing he talks about, he always he's trying to give these young cats in the music industry the game, but they're not listening. How you don't listen to somebody that got cereal and chips in every store across America, that people are buying. Honestly, so he has so many different. So I really do like Master P. That's my go-to.
That's what's up.
That's my go-to business person. Just from a standpoint, I feel like he just keep it 100 the whole time.
Yeah, and he did something. He came up, right? He didn't have to. And that's the thing, we bring a lot of people in the studio, and us here with this project as well, this is not only a labor of love, but you got to put the work in.
Exactly.
You've got to put the work in. The reps, getting in front of the camera. A lot of people say, "Hey, Maximo, you're really good on camera." Well, I didn't wake up like this.
Okay.
I ain't Beyonce, right? I didn't wake up like this. It took a lot of time. It took a lot of effort. It took a lot of practicing.
Yeah.
And I ain't still where I want to be. I ain't still where I am the finished product.
Right.
But I know where I can go.
Right. That's how, talking about video, because my brother, he was like, look, you better make these Facebook Lives. I feel like he was just deboing me into these videos.
Yeah.
But once I started them, I would say 2016. I'm not sure when Live came out, but 2016 was the first time I did the video, and I ain't gonna lie, I didn't want to. I did not.
Yeah.
But then once I started, and I went back, how Facebook love these memories pop up. I went back and looked at some of them. I was like, oh Lord. And then some of them weren't too bad, but I realized now that I'm super comfortable, and I'll hop on a video in a minute. Now, when I pre-record a video, that's when we got problems, because I will do 50 different takes, but until I get it right. And I was because what I don't like to do is have to chop it up and try it, because sometimes I do my own editing, so I like to get it perfect. So I got one little run, my spiel is good, then I can just tack on the other stuff. But if I got to start chopping up stuff, I'm like, no, this ain't for me.
Yeah.
But with lives and just recording video, you just got to do it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, like Nike say, you just got to do it.
Yeah, that's
really. But once you get started, it's not as bad. And that's why I tell my clients. A lot of my clients, I'm like, we are moving towards a video world at this point. People are not reading long posts. You might get a person that might read, but now you just got to hop on a video and say what you're gonna say and get off.
Yeah, that's a good point.
At the end of the day.
The other thing to be said about this too is, look, I asked another person to come on the podcast here in a few weeks, and they mentioned to me, okay, what's your podcast about? This podcast, if I had to say it was about one thing, because we talk about everything.
Right.
There ain't nothing off the table when we talk, because that's a real conversation, right? Just like we playing poker, just like we at the crib, whatever. I think the show's about inspiring people. And so if you need a message, if you listen to this right now, is don't be afraid to put yourself out there.
Right.
You gotta go ahead and just do it. Just jump in, whether it's putting yourself out there on TikTok, whether it's starting this business, whether it's doing this thing that is your purpose and your passion that's been behind your head and you've been thinking about it in the back of your mind, because life's short.
It is.
You talked about COVID and the pandemic. You had one of your clients you didn't think was going to make it. A lot of people done been passed away.
Right.
One of the things that really bothered me a few months ago, or probably about almost a year ago now, is just seeing all the posts of people that we lost.
Right.
How many times you log on to social media and you see somebody that's giving a tribute post?
Right.
And I've been there. We all been there.
Yep. It was a lot.
And that's a reminder. That's a reminder.
Right. And this is where I feel like, in a sense, you have to always open yourself up and be vulnerable at some point. Because you can't stay closed, like, especially if you're thinking about even starting a business, or if you want to, get that promotion or whatever, you're going to have to level up.
Yeah. Period.
Like, you're going to have to come out your comfort zone. You're going to have to do some, like, websites. Oh, Lord. That was not, like, I have an in-house web developer, but I also had to learn, much as we argue and go back and forth, but I actually had to learn at least how to do some of the stuff. So he had to show me how to go on the back end of the website and change stuff if he wasn't available. I was like, I don't want to. Like, this is what you for.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I realized, like, okay, you should know a little bit about you should know how to do at least every job in your business. You think about working at McDonald's. Like, you need to know how to cook the burger. You need to know how to cook the fries. You need to know how to ring the order up. Like, you should be able to do every job in your business until you can hire out at the end of the day. Now, no, can I build a whole website? No, but at the end of the day, I can go on the back end, make a few edits, change some stuff if I needed to. But I think when you look at your business and you look at your career or whatever you want to do, you got to come out your comfort zone. Like, it's just like they say, nothing happens there. Like, nothing.
Yeah, nothing grows in the comfort zone.
Right. Yeah. It's like, it's the same old. And like, at some point you have to want better for yourself, but nobody can want that for you. And that's why I even tell my clients, like, my saying is, I'm here when you're ready.
Yeah.
Cause like, whenever you're ready, cause there's nothing more for me to say. Like, I'm not a salesy person. I tell you what it is. I tell you what's happening in your business. Here's how I can fix it. Here's how much it's going to cost for me to fix it. We work out a payment plan. But if that ain't good enough, I'll holler. Because there ain't nothing else for me to say at that point. I done offered you multiple solutions. I've even offered you a way to get it done, and you ain't even got to pay it all up front. And if that still ain't enough, then you just ain't ready.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. But I'll be here when you are, God willing.
Yeah. And
I'll leave it at that. But I think sometimes we have to realize that when it's time to take those steps, I'm not saying like just be out here wilding, but sometimes it's okay to just jump out there. Yeah. And then sometimes, you got to take a step back and really do research. And this is what people don't do. They don't do any research. They just up and start businesses and wonder why the hell it ain't going right. You didn't even do a SWOT analysis. And most people don't even know what a SWOT analysis is. But like, did you even remotely go on SBA, the Small Business Administration, go on their website just to look up how many businesses exist in your area, what the median pricing is? Did you do any of those things?
That's a good point.
Do you understand who your target audience is? Why are they your target audience? What do you have to offer them at the end of the day? Because one of the things that I hate seeing the most is the whole thing about what you're worth, or, pay somebody what they're worth. Nah, the pay is based on value. It ain't based on worth. You're only worth what somebody's willing to pay you. And that's what people don't understand. You might feel like you're worth $100,000, but if somebody only willing to pay you 50, then that's what it is, bro. It's 50 until something else change.
Yeah.
Until that you can prove that 1 or 2 or 3 people that paid you $100,000. I mean, like, you think about it from a comedy standpoint. Even beginning comics, they do shows for $100, $200. Once they, they stock increased, maybe they on a couple shows, they got a podcast now, a little bit more people know them. Then you increase your price. You got a couple things going on. That's, you're on TV shows.
Yeah. That
type of thing. It's a progression to pay somebody $63,000 to come and tell jokes.
Yeah.
Bruce wasn't always that much. I only said that because that's when I met him at Luby's. He was like, it costs about like $60,000. I was like, oh Lord, I'm gonna have to save up for that one. But I'm just saying, it's a process. But like, research is really your friend. And I think that's with anything. Like, we so quick to just believe whatever pops up on the screen. Now, if it's coming from a reputable person, that's different. But you should still always do research on the back end. And you definitely should research your industry and see what's happening and who's doing the shaking, the moving and the shaking in it. So you know how to, so that number one, so you can connect with them, especially if they, on your level per se.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think research is key, and I just feel like people don't do enough of it.
So listen, we're touching on a lot of things. We got a few minutes left in the show tonight. I know this has gone by quick. It always does.
I know, right?
I feel like we're just getting into some things, but I heard a couple of messages from what you just said. One, we should be supporting our people.
Yeah.
Right? Two, hire us now because pretty soon you ain't going to be able to afford us. Three, give us some closing thoughts about you, your brand, the importance of business, anything else you want to tell us for the viewers, those watching at home, stuff that you think is important in today's day and age, in the outlook, the onset of what people may want to consider moving forward.
Oh, that's a good one. Oh, Lord.
Give us some thoughts. I mean, it's an open mic,
I know. Okay, so I'll go back to the value thing. And this is super important no matter what business that you're in, understanding the value that you bring to the market and understanding the value of your product. So obviously, because a lot of people like to consider themselves luxury and high end. Well, you can only be luxury and high end, like if, let's say, clothing. Like if your material is like quality material. Like at the end of the day, it can't feel like 100% polyester. And if I wash it, like, no, like at the end of the day, like it needs to be quality. So there's things that you have to do to consider yourself a luxury brand, but I'm just on a general scale, value will always win. People pay for value. They don't pay you because you feel like you worth this amount. The easier is, I'll go back to solutions. You should be in business to provide solutions, and people pay for solution and results. And that's where the value comes from. The mere fact that, so it's funny, the young guy that I met with yesterday, he asked me about how he worded it. But I told him to Google. I said, clearly you didn't Google me before you had this meeting. Because I'm on the first page. But I was just joking with him, but he should have Googled me. Like, if you want to meet with somebody, you should Google them. That's another thing. If you're having meetings with people, Google them. Go look up their Facebook page. Go, so that way when you get to the meeting, you have some idea of who these people are or what. It's like going on an interview. You probably should do your research on the company before you get to the interview. So it's the same thing in business. Like, research people that you possibly may be in a collaboration with or you might want to partner with. But the value that you bring, this is what people pay for. My clients pay me to be able to call me at look, the value of being able to text me at 10 o'clock at night when you having a whole breakdown. Yeah. And I provide resources to help you out and ease your situation. That's valuable. Or when my sorority sister needed a contact, so I called my know, and the day I was on the president of Morris Brown College. Oof. The president of the college. The one person that I knew. So there's value in the relationships. So you have to figure out where do you bring value. I'm well aware of the value that I bring to any situation, whether it's business, friendship, romantic, all of it. So once you're aware of the value and you really bring in real value and solutions, and you got results, and it's not about how much money you made. It's really about the results that you get from the help that you've given to people. Whatever your product does your product do what it say it's supposed to do, or you just out here scamming? At the end of the day. So if it's a product based, like your product should do what exactly you say it's gonna do. If it's supposed to last 5 years, it better last 5 years. However. But that's what I think sometimes we miss the value piece and we go straight to what I'm worth. How do you know, like, what makes you think you're worth this amount?
Yeah, for real.
Do you have the results to back it up? And that's when you can then probably get into worth, is because I've done this over this amount of time and I can prove that I've helped this particular population of people go from here to here. It's just like when you're getting when you're applying for grants and stuff, they want to see, like, what have you been doing before we give you this money? You can't just go ask people for money. Think about it. If somebody comes to you and asks you to invest in your business, what's the first thing you're going to ask them?
I don't know.
As an investor, let me see these numbers.
Yeah.
What these books said. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
So people want to see, like, you gotta have some receipts.
Absolutely.
So that's where the value come in the receipts. Like I always tell people, make sure you go on Google and really make, I don't say make, but really find creative ways to really have your clients leave you Google reviews, because that does help how you look online.
That's a good point.
And people Google everything.
They do.
People Google everything. And if you're not on Google, then that's a problem. Or only thing that shows up on Google is your Facebook or your Instagram. That's a problem. Or your website at, homie. I mean, I'm just saying. So I think from that standpoint, let's focus on the value that we're bringing, and the money will come.
There you go.
Because if you're providing value and you're treating people right and you're doing good business, I promise it's coming. It might not come today or tomorrow, but it will if you stay the course and be consistent.
Boost your value, stay consistent, stay the course, and there you go. The rewards will be reaped.
For sure.
All right. So look, let's wrap it up. Where can our viewers find you? I mean, can we Google you? I know, but you have a website.
Google me.
Tell us where we can find you. What do we Google?
Google B Michele. But no, actually my website. But yes, Google B Michele with one L. But my website is bmichele.com. That's BMICHELE.com. So 1 L in Michele. Okay. But that's my website. It's my coaching website. But you can definitely hit me up on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, now TikTok. It's all Coach. Okay, so let me back up. So all of my social media sites is Coach B Michele. So the Facebook, the Instagram, the TikTok, the LinkedIn is Coach B Michele. All the same. But if you go to my website, it's just bmichele.com. But if you Google B Michele, like somebody did tell me they called for a consultation, and I always ask people how did they find me. And it was like, yeah, I just Googled branding, and it popped up. I said,
wow.
And it was like, yeah, it was on the whole page, on the whole first page.
There you go.
I was like, that's that work.
That is that work. You got to work to get number one on
branding.
That's
that. But that's something that's value, because I can now tell people I'm at the top of Google. You know?
All right. Well, there it is, folks. Look, we're wrapping up the show. There's a lot of conversation that we left off the table, but this isn't going to be the only time that you're in the studio at the table. So thank you so much for coming through this evening. We'll have you back. Great supporter here. As always, folks, we're live on VodPod Media. Like, comment, share. We'll be back with you next Wednesday evening. As always, 7 p.m. Central. Thank you so much. Gylan Jackson, take it home, sir. Folks, have a great night. And we're out of here.
Look at you.